This meeting of the Community Development Board is called to order on August 20th. Welcome, everyone. If everybody could please join me. My mic? Can you hear me now? There we go. I'll say that again. The meeting of the Community Development Board is called to order on August 20th. Welcome, everyone. Please join me and rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll be giving the invocation today. O Lord, our God, Heavenly King and Comforter, we come before you this afternoon with gratitude for the community we serve. We lift up our prayers for our nation, our city, and for all those who hold positions of civil authority. We ask you grant this board and those who have come to participate with us today the spirit of wisdom, discernment, and integrity. Direct their thoughts and actions so that every decision made here be just, righteous, and profitable for all citizens. God us to seek the common good, to maintain harmony, and to live a calm and peaceful life, all in dignity. Clear our minds of distraction, deliver us from divisiveness, and grant us the strength to govern righteously. May our efforts promote peace, safety, and prosperity for everyone who lives and works in this city. To you we ascribe glory, thanksgiving, now and forever. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This board consists of 7 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the City Council and serve voluntarily. I am Michael Butskas, and I will ask the other members of the staff to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Jennifer Cowan with Bryant Miller Olive, your legal counsel.
Rosemary Call, City Clerk.
Matthew Midge, Assistant City Attorney.
Raymond Rush, Public Works Transportation.
Ted Kozak, Planning and Development.
Austin Dole, Planning and Development.
Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development.
Diane Achinelli.
Luis Serna.
Michelle Chenault.
Andrew Hupp.
Please remember to turn off your cell phones so it does not become a distraction during the meeting. Please also refrain from having conversations in this room so we might hear all the testimony given today. To ensure a complete record of this board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone at the podium in front of us. Clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk. Now I will ask all those in attendance today who plan to speak to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
Thank you. Agendas of today's meeting are on the podium to your left near the entry door. Also on this podium are a roster of the Community Development Board, the list of city staff experts, their resumes, the board's rules of procedure, and the annual schedule of this board. Our first order of business is to review and approve minutes from last month's meeting. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is for items that are not on the agenda. If there's anybody here today wishing to address this board concerning any matter that does not appear on today's agenda, please identify yourselves. Seeing none, we will move on. This board has adopted a consent agenda format, and the consent items are identified as such on the agenda. Consent agenda items are those items for which the Planning and Development Department recommends approval and the applicant is in agreement with any proposed conditions. Please note that written comments to the case that have been received to date do not result in an item being removed from the consent agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda today by a member of the board, a member of the staff, or any person in the audience for questions or objections. I'll read each item on the consent agenda, and if any person wishes to remove this item from the consent agenda, please so state or raise your hand, and we'll remove it from the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda will be heard in the regular order of the meeting. Items that remain on the consent agenda will be approved with a single vote as to each type of hearing. Does any board member wish to disclose any ex parte communications on any level 2 applications that are on today's consent agenda? I did forward a voicemail communication I received that I did not respond to. That's part of the record. Okay. All right, so today's consent agenda items are as follows. FLD 2009-02002B, flexible development approval for a medical clinic radiology building in the institutional district as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project for the property located at 2650 Landmark Drive. Does anybody wish to have this matter removed from the consent agenda? That one will remain. Next item is FLD 2026-02005, flexible development approval for a limited vehicle service car wash in the commercial district as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project for the properties located at 407 South Saturn Avenue. Does anybody wish to have this matter removed from the consent agenda? Yes. This item will be removed from the consent agenda. Next item is FLD 2026-03007, flexible development approval for a storage, warehouse, and distribution facility in the institutional district as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project for the property at 706 North Missouri Avenue. Does anybody wish to have this item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, items 1 and 3 of those as today would remain. Can I have a motion for those two items?
I move to approve case number FLD 2009-02002B and case number FLD 2026-03007. Based on the evidence and testimony presented in the application, the staff report, and at today's hearing, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusion of law stated in the staff report with conditions of approval as listed.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Those two items have been approved through the consent agenda process. Continuing on now with our case, and one matter remains, which is a Level 2 case. All Level 2 cases, such as a flexible development, are considered quasi-judicial hearings. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the Community Development Board reviews the application, the staff report, correspondence, and all evidence presented today, and makes a final decision subject to appeal. This board has previously qualified all of the city staff who will testify as experts in their area of professional training, education, and experience. The list of city staff experts and their resumes are in the handbook on the podium near the entry door. Any other professionals who desire to be qualified as an expert witness shall so request at the beginning of the case and present a resume to each board member. The board shall determine whether or not to qualify the person as an expert and in what field of study. At the beginning of each Level 2 case, I will also ask for anyone who wishes to request party status to come forward and state your reasons. Party status may be granted if the person requesting such status demonstrates that he or she is a substantially affected person. The board will then determine whether or not to grant party status. Then the case will proceed as follows. First, requests for party status. Second, presentation of planning and development staff. Third, presentation by the applicant. Both of those are 10 minutes each. And then presentation by persons with party status, which is 5 minutes per party maximum. Cross-examination of witnesses by planning and development staff. Cross-examination of witnesses by applicant, and cross-examination of witnesses by persons with party status. Then comments by the public, limited to 3 minutes per person, and then closing remarks by the planning and development staff, closing remarks by the persons granted party status, and closing remarks by the applicant. Each will have up to 3 minutes. Then will be the closing of the public hearing, and this board will have discussion and vote. Our first Level 2 case today is FLD 2026-02005. I've already asked if anyone wants to disclose any ex-parte communications. I'll just ask again just to make sure we didn't miss anything. Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to request party status on this case? We have 3 people. Please, one at a time, please approach the microphone, state your name and your basis for requesting party status.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Rhodey, and I live at 304 South Mars Avenue, which is directly catty corner adjacent to the property that we're discussing.
Can you spell your last name for the?
Arote.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to grant party status?
I motion to grant party status to Ms. August Barkley.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else wished? I think there were 3 people total.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Caterino. I live at 306 South Mars Avenue. My home shares a corner with the church property, and my bedroom is about 130 feet from the proposed outdoor vacuum area, so I feel I am significantly impacted by this project.
Anybody wish to move to grant party status?
I make a motion to grant her party status.
Second? Second. Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Will be granted party status. Have a seat. Ma'am?
Good afternoon. My
My name is Charlene Welsh, W-E-L-S-H. I rent and reside at 312 South Mars Avenue, immediately adjacent to the proposed development. And because of that proximity, I will be affected substantially more than the general public.
Does anybody wish to move grant her party status?
I move to grant Ms. Welch party status.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All
Thank you.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Board members, before the next individual comes up to the podium, can we make sure that all your mics are on, please?
Okay.
It looks like several of your mics are off, so if you can press them
Yeah, I
to
think
turn
Louis,
on.
Louis is
Thank
on
you.
now. There we go. Operator's on. Okay. Thank you. All right. Continuing on then. Oh, one more. Sorry, I didn't see you, sir. Please go ahead. Didn't mean to do that to you.
You're okay. My name is Daniel Jeffrey. It's Jefffery. I am a property owner at 300 South Saturn Ave, which is immediately across the street from the proposed site, and I am the chairman of Metric Foundation, which is a nonprofit company that we run out of that building.
May I wish to move the grant party status?
I would like to grant Mr. Welsh party status.
Second. Motion made and seconded. You say your last name again was?
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, I'm sorry.
Just want to make sure it's clear so everyone can mix up afterwards. All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Anybody else? One more person, okay?
Hi, my name is Fred Jeffrey, Jeffrey. I'm also at 300 South Saturn Avenue on the corner, co-owner of the building. But one thing we did was walk around the whole neighborhood and surveyed everybody, so I would like to state that at the appropriate time.
Two people from the same address, co-owners. Your thoughts on that, counsel?
Do you reside at that same address?
Your microphone's not on. There it is.
Do you reside at the same address?
I do not reside there.
Okay.
I'm co-owner of the building and I work there.
Oh,
and-
co-owner of the building.
So it's like a commercial property?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody wish to move the grant party status to Mr. Jeffrey?
I move to grant Mr. Jeffrey, I knew I had that right the first time.
You got it right.
Party status.
Second. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Anybody else wish to seek party status? Got one more coming up.
How you doing? My name is Afram Siriani, and I own Sunshine Car Wash on 1175 Court Street and 1430 South Missouri Avenue. We're going to be impacted financial, so I wanted to come up here.
Did you receive formal notice of the hearing today due to your proximity to the site, or just how did you find about today's case?
Yeah, I got a phone.
You received notice, okay.
Could you spell his name, Chairman?
Yeah, can you spell your name for the record, please?
Afram, A-F-R-A-M. Last name is S-E-R-I-A-N-I.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wish to grant Mr. Siriani party status?
I wish to grant you Mr. Serio party status.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else before I move on to starting the process? Okay. The board has granted party status to Ms. Arote, Ms. Caterino, Ms. Welsh, Mr. Jeffrey, and Mr. Siriani. This entitles you to these additional rights. You can personally testify, you can present evidence by documentary submittal, you can present witnesses, you can conduct cross-examination, you can present argument, and you have the right to appeal a decision of the board. So we will now proceed with this matter. Staff wish to proceed.
Mr. Chair, the city's got two witnesses today, experts.
Okay.
First, I would ask that the board accept Ms. Austin Dole as an expert witness in general planning, zoning, redevelopment planning, land development code and land development code amendments, special area plans and overlay districts, site plan review, landscape architecture, historic preservation, and all other matters she is about to testify here on.
Do you have a motion to accept Ms. Dole as expert?
I motion to accept Ms. Dole as a witness expert. Witness.
Second?
I'll second.
Sorry.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And your second expert?
That would be Mr. Raymond Dresch. He's an expert witness in mechanical engineering, transportation management planning, right-of-way and construction permitting, Florida licensed engineering intern. He's a retired Army master planning and construction management engineer, and any other matters he's going to testify here on today.
Can you spell his last name? Just because
Dresch, D-R-E-S-C-H.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion to accept Mr. Dresch as,
I have a question. What other matters is he an expert in that you mentioned?
Well, we'll have to see if there's anything else he wants to testify on here today. I don't anticipate there being any further types of specialties that he's going to speak on, but I'd just like to do a catch-all at the end, just in case there are things that might be covered that he's had experience and expertise in that isn't necessarily listed right here. And if something like that comes up, I will certainly make you aware of it.
Perfect. Thank you.
thanks. Okay. Do you have a motion to accept him as a witness? Expert witness, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to accept Mr. Dresch as an expert witness.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Do any of the parties that are here today, either those seeking party status, have any expert witnesses they want to qualify?
I'm the applicant.
You're the applicant? Do you have an expert witness you want to qualify?
Myself.
Yourself? Please come forward.
I've got copies of, hard copies of this, as well as my presentation that I'll hand out to staff.
Right now, we just need to qualify as an expert, and
Yes.
you base on your qualifications.
So that's my CV. I've got 30 years of land planning experience. I'm a AICP certified land planner since 1999. I have 21 years of experience in private sector land development, general planning, comprehensive planning, and land use matters.
Just for the record, I want to jump in and state your name first. if
Oh,
you
I'm
want
sorry.
That would be helpful.
I'm Peter Pensa.
Peter Pensa, thank you, Mr. Pensa.
And business address is 4303 Eisenhower Boulevard, Tampa. And like I said, I'm the agent for the applicant. In addition to over 2 decades of private sector land planning experience, I have over a decade of government land planning experience as well.
Okay. Does anybody wish to move to accept Mr. Pensa as an expert?
I move to accept Mr. Pensa as a expert witness.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Anybody else need to be qualified as an expert before we begin? The rest of the process goes smoothly. All right, thank you. Ms. Dole, please proceed.
Hi, council. How is everyone doing today?
Just because we have so many people here, would you mind, and this goes for everyone, when you start to speak, can you just identify that you have been sworn in case we
Sure.
missed anyone? Thank you.
I'm Austin Dole. I'm a member of planning and development staff, and I have been sworn in. And I just want to make sure presentation is up and available. Great. This is case number FLD 2026-02005 for the property located at 407 South Saturn Avenue. The property contains 3 parcels zoned commercial with commercial general future land use. Surrounding properties are also zoned commercial as well as a little bit of high-density residential. There are commercial uses adjacent as well as attached and detached dwellings to the north as well. The current site is home to St. Paul's Lutheran Church. And the applicant is coming in to have limited vehicle service as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project for a car wash. Here is the site plan. I know it's oriented slightly differently than the prior slide. You'll see the north arrow. And to the south, Gulf to Bay, To the east is Mars Avenue, and to the west is Saturn Avenue. The proposal is for Woody's Wash Shack to come in and develop a car wash on the site. Their plan would be to combine the 3 parcels and then re-subdivide them into 2. So on the western parcel, that would contain Woody's, and then on the eastern parcel, that would remain vacant for future commercial development. Here's a slightly more detailed orientation of the site plan. Cars would be entering and exiting off of Mars Avenue and South Saturn Avenue. They would enter the car wash from the north, but the actual car wash building is located closer to Gulf to Bay. They would then be pushed towards the eastern side of the property where there are 24 self-service vacuum stations. Along the southern property, there is a proposed screen so that is shielded from Gulf to Bay as cars are exiting the wash tunnel. To the north, there is a 10-foot wide setback, landscape buffer, and a 6-foot tall fence to act as screening, buffering, and noise mitigation to properties to the north. A traffic study has been submitted by the applicant, and staff, Raymond Dresch, has been well-versed on the study if council has any specific questions as far as traffic impact, et cetera. The vacuum stations have also been placed closer to the south of the property to also help with sound mitigation as well. The applicant, as requested from staff, has also submitted a sound study for the property that details the mitigation techniques put in place to help minimize any noise pollution to surrounding properties. The sound study takes into account the combined noise for 6 vehicles idling at pay stations, the car wash tunnel, 2 vacuum equipment enclosures, and all 24 self-service vacuum stations. So the analysis was run to assume and account for worst-case scenarios. And as part of our conditions of approval, staff has required that the sound mitigation technology must be implemented into the car wash facility. Hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Here is the applicant's landscape plan. They have added robust landscaping around the perimeter of the property for aesthetics and screening, and then have also landscaped the interior of the property as well. The following slides are elevations. The top is east elevation from Mars, and bottom is west from Saturn. The applicant is proposing a max height of 32.6 feet. Staff, based off of comprehensive infill design standards, found this to be in line with surrounding character of the property. And given that the Lutheran Church is also approximately 2 stories in height, we felt that this would be in line with what was previously or currently, but to be demolished on the site. And we actually view this more as a single story because the tower parapet is more of an architectural detail. And it falls within what is permissible within the comprehensive infill standards. This is the south elevation from Gulf to Bay, so you can see what that screen would look like if you were looking at the car wash tunnel from Gulf to Bay, and then what it looks like without it. And then this would be the northern entrance as you're entering into the wash tunnel. So based off of land development code and the comprehensive plan, staff recommends approval for the proposed car wash at 407 South Saturn Avenue. Does council have any questions?
What's the variance for the height?
So comp infill doesn't have a max limit on height. So typically for limited vehicle service, maximum height is 25 feet, but since this is coming in as comp infill, there is more leeway with what we're permitted to allow for in height.
And the second question I have, so I did the AAA on Gulf to Bay a long time ago, and I had to go in front of the city council because the tunnel can't face the road. Didn't you pass an ordinance or a zoning criteria for this where the tunnel had to be parallel to the main road? Is that changed?
I'll need to pull up the code, but there were, excuse me, I brought my water today. There were some code amendments a few years ago related to the tunnel location, and that was reviewed by staff through this application, so.
What does that mean?
I mean, I'll need to pull up the code to give you exactly what the code requires, unless, Ted, do you have it handy?
I can pull it up, but the criteria for the limited vehicle service has been all met. So we can pull it up right now as we continue to talk.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that you couldn't have the bays facing the road with that new ordinance, and I'm just wondering if it's changed at this time? Because I know that was a big thing several years ago.
You said you went in front of council for that?
I did.
What year was that, do you know?
Gosh, don't date me.
Well, just usually these type of approvals, as you know, go to the community development board, so I'm wondering if maybe that
It was like 5 years ago, probably 6. Yes.
That project was a little bit different. I don't remember if that was an appeal because of something, which is why it went to council, but that was a different application, a different project. So,
yeah.
Yeah, if staff could look up that code section to
Yeah, I think
address,
it's
Ms. Rupp's
relevant,
question,
because I remember
appreciate
the
it.
car wash discussion relative to, I was on the board when that was changed as well, where it had to be parallel to the road. Did we miss that, or am I missing that?
he's taking a look right now.
I'm scrolling.
He's looking for that right now. In the meantime, the elevations that you show, the one that showed the east elevation for Mars Avenue, that's as it would be right now after the site is demo, but the property between Mars Avenue and that's still going to be for future development, correct? So that would be the current elevation, but it might change because there'd be
Correct,
something.
with future development. And we've had a couple of inquiries about development on that project, or on that site,
On
but
that
nothing
parcel.
definitive, just people asking basic zoning questions.
That would ultimately change as far as the street view from Mars.
Correct.
Do you know how long this has been zoned commercial?
I would have to go verify when that corridor.
2 years.
2 years?
correct. Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development. I was sworn in. So that goes for the other. It was rezoned in 2024, July 16th, 2024. The city council approved the rezoning from institutional to commercial, as well as the companion future land use map amendment. That was because churches, places of worship are typically zoned institutional, but the area surrounding it, all, abutting properties are zoned commercial, which is why it was supported.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So those properties that surrounded it, how long have they been commercial? Any idea?
I did not go back in time. Typically, approximately 300 feet, give or take, north and south of Gulf to Bay has been zoned commercial for a very long time.
Would you say it's longer than the residents?
I don't know.
Or as long as the residents, I should say?
I don't know.
But the
Your
bottom line
microphone
is.
Mr. Hutcher, yeah, your microphone is,
We're driving our technology engineers crazy today, sorry.
I was going to say, is the bottom line is what's before you is compatible with the underlying commercial zoning district. So I think that's what's truly important here, so.
Anybody have any other questions of staff?
I do have the code, I'm just flipping
Okay.
because of the way we organize it.
No, I wasn't going to move on, I was waiting for that answer. I didn't know if there were other
Alphabetically,
questions we could address
The
in the
alphabetical
meantime.
issue with the code book always gets me.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with what I had to go through and what was approved down the street and the other matters that I've been involved with on Gulf to Bay. So I'm just wondering if you guys know what the code says, or we're missing it at this time? Because
So under the flexible development for limited vehicle services, so this would be, just for the full record, section 2-704, and then we're under I. Number 6 says tunnels associated with car washes shall be located parallel to the abutting street.
so I'm correct.
To the abutting street, but there's 2 streets here.
There's 3 streets.
Actually 3. Their street, but there's going to be a parcel, it's going to be,
So would
they're
you-
going to be combined, there's
This
going to be
was
two
all
parcels.
driven by Gulf to Bay, not by an abutting street. So your interpretation is,
She just read the code. I mean, it's up to us to interpret it. She read the code.
okay.
There's
All right,
there's
well,
three streets.
Could you read that one more time?
Can you read that again, please?
Yes, criterion number 6, flexibility criterion number 6 states that tunnels associated with car washes shall be located parallel to the abutting street. That being said, that's for if it was coming through as a vehicle, limited vehicle service use. What's before you is a comprehensive infill redevelopment project. Those are officially two different uses in our code. So, that is part of their request is, would be, I mean, they don't have to request that. They're requesting flexibility to have the use and the setbacks or, no, height.
Okay. So going back to, you guys implemented that restriction, correct?
It was a few years ago regarding when that particular code provision was modified, and I don't recall what it was prior to.
Okay. Well, I think that we should go back as a city and revisit that all along the Gulf to Bay corridor, because it's a lot of auto service, if you will, car dealerships, et cetera, and it was mandated on a lot of people, including myself, that that was a specific requirement. I had to do a special redesign of my entire structure because of it, and it seems at this time, it's not a requirement, which I think is great. I think it was ridiculous the way it was written prior, so I would offer to staff to revisit that for the Gulf to Bay corridor.
I think for today's purposes, though, I would like some input from staff on that same topic of how a abutting street is defined. Is it defined by the street that the entrance comes in off of? Is it, because it's on the corner here. So you've got front, it's defined by how much frontage there is. Is there a definition of that that would be instructive to us when we deliberate and vote?
What I was going to say is it might be one of those terms that doesn't necessarily have a definition. If it would be under the definition section of our community development code. But absent that, since that section is a little bit gray in exactly what it means, we're in kind of a unique situation with 3 streets here, with the access actually being provided from the street that's at the top, Mars Avenue, and the street below, Saturn Avenue, which the car wash is parallel to. I would leave it up to the community development coordinator, who is the interpreter of our code, and she's able to make interpretations of it in situations where things are a little bit gray. So I would say that's one of those situations here, and she's taken a look at this. And not only that, she's also made the point that this is a comprehensive infill application, which is a separate use from your typical car wash type use. Is it a comprehensive infill application to do a limited vehicle service type use? Yes, but it can be a little confusing, but the actual use is going to be comprehensive infill here. So there's a very compelling argument that that code section doesn't even apply, even if what I previously told you at the beginning of my statement was correct. So there's a couple different ways that you can take a look at this, but ultimately I would defer to her and her judgment and her staff. They take a look at these issues very carefully all the time. So
I can and would be happy to read the definition from the code for abutting property if you'd like. So an abutting property means property which is contiguous to the parcel proposed for development or contiguous to property which is owned by the applicant and or an affiliated entity of the applicant which is contiguous to the parcel proposed for development.
So the definition, and I caught that because I was.
I know.
I'm looking at the definition.
Definitions are
Definition,
special.
but I caught that, and it's interesting because from my perspective, just we'll deliberate afterwards in terms of abutting, but it could be either one of the streets, either one of the 3. While one of them is not going to be directly abutting in the future, it'll just be the access off Mars. You still have 2 streets that are abutting, so that's the definition. We'll leave it at that. We'll have our discussion afterwards after deliberations. Does anybody have any other questions for staff before we move on to the applicant's presentation?
Sharon, could you just clarify for me, if this is as you're saying, then the abutment would be to Saturn and not to Gulf to Bay, be parallel to that? Is that what it's saying, has to be parallel to Saturn?
Parallel to Saturn.
Okay, which it is.
Yes.
Sorry, I will clarify. It abuts
Right.
all 3 because to Mr. Huff's point and to Mr. Bootsikis's point, it's got 3 fronts
Yep.
per our code and 1 side setback the way it's designed. So yes, it does abut it.
Okay.
But that's where changing the request, because it's not for a vehicle, limited vehicle service
Right.
use, it's for comprehensive infill
Comprehensive.
redevelopment
The whole
use.
thing, right.
And that provision, that criterion does not apply through comprehensive infill redevelopment use.
Okay.
We look at a variety of other standards related to the design and the potential impacts to the abutting properties and surrounding neighborhood, the
were.
character, et cetera.
If it were
So-
that application, but it's a comprehensive application, therefore you don't look at the abutment?
We don't look at the same criteria. We review the criteria and how it meets those specific to comprehensive infill redevelopment.
Okay.
But then also the general applicability criteria that are in Article 3, which apply to all applications. So
Okay.
there's a lot of language in there that talks about the
And
consistency with the
cross-reference.
neighborhood and impacts to the neighborhood, impacts to value, et cetera, which were addressed in the staff report. So those were the criteria that the code assigns to us to review against. I understand the point, and if there had been, if they had requested that particular use, we would be addressing those particular criteria. Our code is unique in some of the ways that it allows applicants to request flexibility or other projects are designed.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm sorry to.
And Mr. Huff, I
backtrack.
was in the department at the time that the AAA site was done. I remember it being discussed at staff reports, but I know nothing specific about it because I was in a different lane at that time. So it seems like it was a very long time ago, but I don't know. I think yesterday was a long time ago sometimes. So.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions from staff, or do we move on, before I move on to the applicant's presentation? Seeing none, if we have more questions, we'll get it on cross-examination.
Thank you.
Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
And just as you begin, can you confirm you have been sworn in?
Good afternoon. Again, for the record, my name is Peter Pensa. I'm an ACP certified planner, business address 4304 Eisenhower Boulevard, Suite 350, Tampa. And I have been sworn. I passed out a copy of the presentation. I'll put it on the overhead as well. Staff did a pretty comprehensive description of the project, so I'll try not to replicate that and address some of the other matters more at hand. We'd like to start by reiterating that the Gulf to Bay corridor from US 19 to downtown is essentially all commercial. There's only a few exceptions to that, one being Clearwater High School, the other being 3 mobile home parks that have residential categories associated with them. In addition, the block that we're on is commercial from the site north to Rainbow Drive. So that entire city block is commercially zoned, even though a portion of it is residentially occupied. We provided a detailed response to the city's review criteria, both the general criteria, the vehicular use or vehicular service criteria that you were discussing earlier was whether it applied or not. We did show in our findings that we do meet those criteria, plus we also show that we meet the comprehensive infill criteria. So we feel that we meet all that criteria. That documentation is part of the file, so I'm not going to go through it in detail, but this document here is where my detailed findings are on that, and that is part of the record. I'm going to put up a kind of rapid fire a few slides. I'm not going to go into detail because I want to stick to the technical items, but Woody's is a locally owned and operated car wash. They're in the Tampa Bay. They pride themselves in making a difference in the community, both for the residents as well as providing employment opportunities and opportunities for growth of staff into management positions over time. They've been in operation for 6+ years. They've won numerous awards. They're family-owned and operated, and they have over 85,000 customers, active members. Again, I'm not going to go through this, but it's in your file. They have a very detailed process for how they train their staff to operate the facility, to keep things orderly. They do community outreach. They are involved in a number of nonprofits. They're the highest ranked operator in the area. That shows their rankings for how well their service is to the community. Again, they provide for management opportunities and training opportunities for all their staff and building leadership. And again, they have a lot of community focus, and they have great pride in the appearance of their facilities, the cleanliness, the operation of it, avoiding loitering, and so on. So with that, now we'll get into the actual meat of the presentation, which you all want to hear. As was already discussed by staff, we are a level 2 FLD permitted use, and we've shown that we meet that criteria. We are asking for a 7.5-foot height increase in order to provide for the architectural features so that it's not just a rectangular box. We provide for architectural interest. This is a site on Gandy Boulevard, Tampa, that's substantially similar. We did, as Mr. Huppet pointed out, in order to address the orientation question, we did customize, or rather the architect customized the building, providing for an architectural screen wall, and I'll get into that in more detail. But that's since we have the unique situation of 3 road frontages, that addresses not having a bay door to Gulf to Bay, even though we feel that we meet the criteria by having the primary frontage on Saturn. If we were to orient it otherwise on the site, it would actually have a detrimental impact as far as sound generation, and I'll show that when I get to that part of the presentation. You've seen the architectural, so I won't go into that. This is the overall site layout, also showing the use that's being contemplated on the property next door. For context, Woody's will be building their property, the master stormwater system, the utilities to serve both parcels, as well as the cross access to the 2 driveways. Staff went into the traffic flow through the site, so I won't go into that. I originally was going to. But what I will explain is that we met with staff several times. We also did a community outreach meeting where we met with neighborhood residents, and we went through several reiterations of the plan. The outcome of that is the plan that you see today, which has the building oriented the way it is, moved up to the front of the property on Gulf to Bay, so that it maximizes the separation from the residential uses to the north, as well as directing the majority of sound generation towards Gulf to Bay, away from the residential. It also provides for greater vehicular queuing opportunities as well. Management of the traffic flow was a significant factor. I touched on that already. I would like to point out that this is not a full-service car wash. It's an automated car wash tunnel, and then self-service for doing any vacuuming or detailing that you may want to do. Customers are typically there for about 12 minutes, and so they're not there for a prolonged period or loitering on the property, as we've heard from some of the residents when we've talked to them. One thing I'd like to point out is the traffic study. Because of changes in the Institute of Traffic Engineers, ITE standards, they did away with the standards of looking at it by number of bays and have switched to by square footage. The traffic engineer looked at the worst case scenario, which includes the upstairs storage and equipment area, which doubles the size of the facility. It's actually a 3,176 square foot footprint. And then that's double that because of the storage and equipment area upstairs. So based on ITE standards, it would be expected that the trip generation would be half of that or less. In another jurisdiction, another county here in the Tampa Bay area, I've recently been advised by their traffic staff to not include the second floor. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And also to note, the traffic study did include a the potential for a coffee shop going on that other property as well, so it was looked at comprehensively. The staff had talked about it, when I showed the site, let me go back, actually I won't go back to the site plan unless you want me to. But as staff pointed out, we've done, as they put it, robust landscaping. All of our perimeter buffers and ground cover are above and beyond the code minimum requirements. In addition to that, we are putting in a 6-foot high opaque wall or fence to provide for screening and sound attenuation. That is not required by code. We are doing that to provide for enhanced neighborhood compatibility. Next is the sound study. BAC did multiple studies on the site as well as comprehensive modeling. There were 2 versions of that study that were submitted to the city. An initial one based on doing enhanced sound mitigation techniques to the building. That includes some sound deadening materials inside the building, as well as that screening wall that's shown in red there on the plan, on the overhead. That provides for both mitigation of sound from the dryer blowers, as well as, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that. It provides both the screening and it provides for mitigating the sound impacts from the blowers. And those blowers, as I was alluding to earlier, are one of the main reasons why we oriented the building the way we did, given multiple frontages. You want that to be oriented towards the street, not towards the neighborhood. The second study they did went back and looked at what the impact would be by doing the 6-foot fence along the northern property line as well. The one on the left shows what the noise would be if there wasn't mitigation systems in place for the building, as well as if the fence wasn't in place. The one on the right shows the sound based on if both of those are opposed. We are supportive of staff's recommendation to require those mitigation measures as part of our conditions of approval. And so as you can see, it reduces the decibels significantly. The sound engineer determined that it lowers the sound levels by 3 to 5 decibels and determined that the levels actually are less than that of the surrounding noise coming from the roadways.
His 10 minutes?
That was his 10 minutes.
That was his 10 minutes? How much longer would it take for you to wrap up?
1 to 2 minutes.
I'll give you the 1 to 2 minutes, but I'll also allow some additional time to those seeking party interest, and if the city needs it as well.
Okay. So the sound engineer did determine, and I put the quote there on the right side of the slide, they determined that there'll actually be no, the background noise that comes from the existing arterial roadways is actually louder and basically drowns out the operating sound from the car wash. And remember, that is a worst case scenario where there's cars stacked in the queuing lane, as well as every vacuum facility is being operated at the same exact time, as well as the car wash tunnel. And then finally, wanted to point out that water conservation is also on the forefront of Woody's mission. They use technology that conserves 70% of the water. The water is recycled multiple times. There's recycling tanks that filter the sand and oils and other materials from the wash materials that can be reused to reduce water use, as well as the cleanliness of it for use as wash, but then for discharge into the city, into the city's sanitary system. And then finally, with that, I'm available to answer any questions that you have.
All right. Gave them roughly about 2 minutes. So I'll give those with party status about 1 minute, since they have half the amount of time for presentation that he normally have. Okay. Does anybody have questions of the applicant?
I do.
Okay, please go ahead.
Do you have your DOT application and permit at this time?
No, not yet. We're
No.
applying for it. We do not have any driveways on DOT. We do not have a utility permit because our utilities come from Saturn. It's only a DOT drainage permit, and we'll have a construction agreement because one thing I didn't get to mention was that we're increasing safety by closing 8 of the city driveways on Saturn and Mars. We're closing an on-street drop-off, as well as direct back-out parking. So it's a safety upgrade both for the city and for DOT. And so we have to do a construction agreement because we're widening the DOT sidewalk to provide for an enhanced pedestrian sidewalk on the DOT right-of-way, as well as constructing new sidewalks on both city right-of-ways.
So the left end coming eastbound on Gulf to Bay is going to remain coming into this side street?
Yes, there have been no modifications to Gulf to Bay.
Okay. And is the stormwater swift mud permit applied for here? Because I see no stormwater.
We've applied for it. We did provide drainage calcs to the city, but that's part of the next step of their review, but we did provide them in advance.
So under the new swift mud code, you're not granted the exemption relative to impervious, correct?
That's correct.
So you plan on going underground with this, or?
Yes, yeah, we did not get any redevelopment exemptions at all. We have to meet DOT criteria, we have to meet city criteria, and actually the most stringent is the city's criteria, because the city looks at the change of use as new development rather than redevelopment, so we did not get credit for the existing use. So the city's requirements are actually driving the design, and it's all 100% underground storage, and it's designed for both properties.
Speaking of both properties, this is a Dutch Brothers you show on this site plan?
I can't speak to the specific user, but it is a drive-through coffee shop, yes.
And that's a 24-car stack, I believe?
I believe so. We're not the engineer on that. The concept was provided by their engineer.
Okay, is that going to have to come in front of our board, that site plan, do we know?
Staff would have to answer that question, I'm not sure.
I would have to see an actual application to be able to assess the
We don't
proper
know the
process.
answer to that,
I do
right?
not know the answer
Yeah.
to that because nothing's been formally submitted.
So if I'm making a left in coming into this property, I have to go all the way to the back of the property? If I'm traveling eastbound where most of the residential's coming from, say the beaches, et cetera, I'll have to circulate all the way through to the back of this property to get to the coffee shop? Is that what I'm observing on this site plan?
Yes, we're proposing 2 driveways, both towards the northern end of the property.
Okay. Yeah, I just did a Dutch Brothers, and there's 40 cars in the stack every day, all day. It's unbelievable. Just to make staff aware of that, and the circulation that is going to occur in the back. I think it's very relevant to understand that.
As for today, it's
Yeah,
still
that-
considered a vacant parcel as for today.
He said the traffic study was a part of this that included that. That's why I'm including that discussion.
Oh, I understand. It's good to note.
Yeah.
Is that curb cut here on this site plan overview, is that in place, will that be in place now so that the traffic can come? There's 2.
Yes, Woody's will be building both driveways, both to
Okay.
Saturn and to Mars.
And then what about
They
this
have to
one over here to get to the coffee shop?
Well,
And then-
if you're coming eastbound, you have to circulate all the way
All the
around.
way around?
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we build both those driveways, and then if you see at the top of the screen where it says where the word cross-access is, that stub out is where their driveway, their aisle inside the property will connect.
Okay. On this site plan, there's a proposed curb cut right here?
If the city permits it, that would be done through their
that'll be a
application.
separate-
We would not be building that.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions of the applicant before we move on to party status? Okay. Thank you. We may have more questions for you on cross-examination.
Okay, thank you. And we do have representatives of both Woody's and the property ownership of the church are here if you have questions for them as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go in the order in which you all sought party status, just because it's easier to follow my notes to the extent I could read them. Ms. Arote, if you want to come forward. We'll allow 6 minutes instead of 5, just because of the additional time allowed to the applicant.
I don't know if you want me talking for 6 minutes. Again, Carolyn Arodi. I was sworn in, I swore in. I am the next door neighbor. I've owned the property and lived on this property for 10 years now. I do understand that they consider it commercial property right around there where we are, but I do want it to be known that it is completely residential. Everybody that's right around this exact property they're discussing is homes. There's people living there. So I am a landlord, but I'm also living in that building, right? So my house specific, I guess I'll try to do this right.
Yes.
My house. There's across the street from my house. Across the street from my house, several years ago when the city, I guess, opened up Keene. Keene used to end at Gulf to Bay and then start again maybe on the other side. They developed a whole community park right there. So we have a community park across the street from us. Again, there are absolutely no sidewalks anywhere to be seen. There are just dozens of families that live literally right around this. Children, dogs, on walks every single day, and we don't have any, we wouldn't have any way to, walk on sidewalks and whatnot. Also, therefore, with the entrance coming in from Saturn and out on Mars, when you come out on Mars, if you want to head back east on Gulf to Bay, you have to come to Rainbow Drive or go even further down to get access to get over to Keene to then go back east on the road. So there will be, I think the site study, so whatever the study was, 1,200, it said 2,200 vehicles, but I'm assuming that's round trip or whatever. So 1,200 vehicles, let's call it half, 600 extra vehicles a day that are going to be going the other way when they leave this car wash will be coming through our neighborhoods. So again, we have over 150 people that signed petitions. Those were handed in. I can't tell that you guys got all of them handed to you, but because it seemed like it was piecemealed what they were willing to put into the approval here for the city. But there was 150 people that signed, and then some people couldn't appear today, but they also some people were scared to show up. To be honest with you, the next thing is just so you can see. There's the car wash that they're proposing. There's a drive-through coffee 1.5 blocks away, and there's a Mr. Car Wash 2 blocks away. So literally within proximity of walking on my own feet, I already have another drive-through coffee shop, and we already have another giant car wash. And that is more, everything around that other car wash is the Burger King, a Wendy's, is truly commercial property. There's no residences around them. So don't understand the concept. In a nutshell, that's what, on top of all that, the other ladies are going to tell you about the noise we do fear. The thing that I think is that the way the church is positioned now, the way I understand, it's actually blocking us from a lot of the noise right now. It keeps a lot of the Gulf to Bay noise out of our neighborhood. Now they're going to tear down that big, giant, heavy structure that would keep the noise from coming in. And then on top of that, add this additional noise that they're adding to the neighborhood with the car wash. I don't believe that they actually, I know that they said they did the noise study. They didn't really account for, they called the neighbor's house, my neighbor's house. They looked at just the front building. There is a whole side building that you don't see. It's actually 2 structures. And, just so you could understand that. There, let's see if the woman's going to speak, just so you can understand. She lives in that building on the far right. That's going to be the PVC fence they put up right there between their property and her window to her house. So it's going to be, 2 feet away from the window to her, where she dwells and lives. And has lived in this community for 35 years, I'm pretty sure. So noise, the traffic, again, is honestly one of our biggest concerns that I could think of. And then I went ahead and I did look up any other Woody's car shack that I could find, and they are normal, They're normal. They're nowhere near people's property. So there's a car shack. There's people's properties quite some time away that you don't have to walk right past it and have all the cars coming and going.
You
right
you need to be
through.
speaking into the microphone, I'm sorry, because
Okay. Yep.
otherwise it won't pick you
You
up.
could tell that they're placed in locations that are not right next door to residences. So again, hopefully you were able to see that there were, on top of that, we have about 50 different neighbor statements, all people saying the same thing, that they're very concerned about the safety of the neighborhood and how many cars are now going to be coming down Mars Avenue that we've never, had before being here. The other thing that I am not an expert witness on, I do not believe that this actually is a comprehensive infill redevelopment project, which is how they were able to skirt past the height requirements. They don't have to ask you for variances. They're going through kind of a, I don't know, however you want to say it, but there are a couple of things that don't really, you have to meet 7 different criteria, I believe, and I do not believe that this meets all the criteria to even be considered a comprehensive infill redevelopment project, which would mean that they'd have to go through the normal route and have some more stringent review. For instance, you guys were just mentioning it up here about which way it's facing, how the tunnel is and whatnot. They're skirting past all of that by going through and saying that it's a comprehensive infill redevelopment project.
Thank you, that
So,
wraps up your
I
time.
know, my time's up.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Okay, that was with the
Got
extra
it.
time.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody, before you go, does anybody have any questions of Ms. Ovid?
I have one question on Saturn. You're familiar with Saturn?
Yeah, sure.
Can you make a left out onto Gulf to Bay at that intersection, Gulf to Bay at this time?
Out of Saturn, when you leave any of those roads, Mars, Saturn, any of them at Gulf to Bay, you can only turn right. You can only turn
Well,
left.
there's a cut coming in
It doesn't look like
eastbound.
it seems to block the road. It seems like it's left only. That's the left goes for down that way. There's a cut, but that's not lined up with the street.
You have to,
Well,
you have to go all the way to
maps.
Caribou Coffee where
It
there's a
shows right
light
turn
to make a
over there,
left.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, so it shows right turn only,
Yeah, they're all right turn only.
but that, they utilize that as a left in.
Left into Saturn from Gulf to Bay, but not left out.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause of the
Right,
curve
so
goes-
anybody leaving
The median goes too far.
has to
Does anybody
come
have
to
any
the
other
neighborhood.
questions of Ms. Ovid? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Where did my list go? Sorry about that. Of course, I mixed up the notes, so now I've misplaced my list. Give me a moment, and I'll get it here in a second. It was a lady whose last name began with a C. There you go. Ms. Caterino. Thank you.
Good job. Not everybody gets that name right.
My last name is Bootsikas, so,
yeah.
have some practice with difficult names.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Caterino, again, 306 South Mars Avenue. My home shares a corner with the church property.
Can you confirm that you were sworn in just?
That was next on my list.
Okay.
I actually wrote it down. And my bedroom is about 130 feet from the proposed outdoor vacuum area. I have been sworn in. Thank you for hearing me.
Thanks for coming.
In April, I submitted the first letter of objection that went on public record for this project. Included was an informal review of other communities where car washes were built close to homes. What stood out was that many residents spoke up after the car washes were already open, when the noise was part of daily life and much harder to fix. People called the noise relentless, even like living in a blender. They kept windows shut and used their yards less. They asked officials for help, but by then they were trying to manage a problem that was already there. This project has not been built yet. You still get to decide if that problem belongs here. To be fair, Woody's did make changes. The traffic study first projected 2,550 daily trips. That was cut to 1,790. They also added a vinyl fence along the residential side for sound control. I appreciate those changes, but they didn't fix the main problem. This is still a high-impact commercial use pushed deep into a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. My main concern is the noise. There would be 24 outdoor vacuum stations just 130 feet away from me. 4 of my neighbors are even closer than that. I live there, I work there, I'm familiar with the neighborhood noises. When children played in the church playground, their voices carried so clearly that at times they sounded like they were right outside my window. I can hear leaf blowers from several houses away and dumpster trucks from a block away. But those sounds stop. They're part of the normal neighborhood noise. This would be entirely different. It would be repeated commercial noise for about 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Vacuum motors, cars, idling engines, doors, radios, people talking, and all the activity that comes with nearly 1,800 daily trips. No one sound may seem extreme. It's the pitch, the repetition, length, and closeness that concern me. That's why I ask you not to treat the sound study as the whole answer. I respect the people that prepared it. I'm not an acoustical engineer, and I'm not saying that their math is wrong. My point is simple. Compliant on paper doesn't always mean compatible in real life. A model can predict sound, but a model can't sleep in my bedroom or work from my home. I'm a renter. This is my home. It's my place of work. And because of my work schedule, I sometimes sleep in the morning when the business would already be open, late night hours. Moving isn't a realistic fix. It takes money, time, deposits, and finding another affordable place. I don't have thousands of dollars or endless time to move because a new commercial use was put almost in my backyard. I am not against car washes. My objection to this is the location. The prior use was a place of worship. The proposed use is limited vehicle service. Those are vastly different uses. A low-impact business can sit beside homes without constant cars and machinery. This one can't. You have the chance to prevent this problem before residents are back here months or years from now asking what can be done. A home should be a place where you can close the door and have peace. A home shouldn't have to be the sound buffer for someone else's business. The applicant has improved the plan. I give them credit for that, but the location hasn't changed, and the basic compatibility problem hasn't changed. I respectfully ask you to deny this application and allow a lower impact use that truly fits beside the people who already live there. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we would have Ms. Welsh.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlene Welsh. I live at 312 South Myers Avenue, immediately adjacent to the proposed development, and I've been sworn in. I'm asking the board to deny or defer this application because I do not believe the information, excuse me, hold on, before you adequately demonstrates what the impact of this development will be on the people living closest to it. My primary concern is noise. I live in a detached ground-level efficiency apartment behind the duplex on South Mars Avenue. My apartment is not simply an address or point somewhere on a larger parcel. It is an occupied residence, and its physical location matters when determining how much sound from this car wash will reach the people living there. That is especially important because immediately outside my apartment is the open-sided, metal-roofed carport that my neighbor and I use as an outdoor living area. I brought photographs today so the board can see the actual relationship between my apartment, my carport, the adjoining property, and the proposed development. Now, these pictures are just from an iPhone, and I had them printed out on here. I don't know how good they're going to show up here. So I think it might be better if...
Put them there and they can zoom in a little bit.
There's 2 pages. Actually, the first one that's looking out my kitchen window, so it's just showing that I see the church and the parking lot. I'm right there. There, it's right outside my kitchen window. The second one is my carport, which we use as an outdoor living area. My neighbor and I sit out there, we barbecue out there, feral cats stroll by. It's nice, it's shaded. We both live in efficiency, so it's like living in a box. So to get out of that situation sometimes, you go out there. Although there is a yard, grassy area, it's full of bugs, ants, there's really no shade. So this is almost like an extension of my apartment, which is right behind that. And then the bottom one just shows the view to the left when you're looking outside the carport. I have no grippers on my fingers left. Okay. All right, this is also, top one is a view. That's looking to the right by my carport. Second photo is in my backyard. That's the duplex in front of me. And then the bottom one here is where I live and my neighbor's apartment. Okay? So I'm concerned that the sound analysis may not adequately represent the location of my apartment and the conditions immediately surrounding it. Before this project is approved, I believe the board should be able to determine where my apartment is represented in the sound model, which sound receiver represents it, and what sound level is actually predicted at that location. I also have concerns about proposed 6-foot barrier wall. Because I live at ground level, immediately besides this development, that wall will become a significant physical feature directly outside my living area. I ask the board to consider not only what that wall is intended to accomplish, but what effect placing it there will have on the people who actually live immediately beside it. I'm also concerned about vehicle activity associated with the development because of how close my apartment and carport are to the project. These are abstract concerns to me. This is my home. I'm not an acoustical engineer. I am not asking the board to accept a technical opinion from me. What I'm asking is much simpler. Before approving this project, please make sure that the actual occupied residents closest to this development, and that is me, and the real physical conditions immediately surrounding it were specifically evaluated. If that cannot be clearly demonstrated from the evidence before you today, I respectfully ask that you deny or defer the application until it can be. And I'd like to know, can the applicant show the board exactly where my apartment is located in the sound model and identify the receiver used to represent it and state the predicted sound level at that location?
Can I make a suggestion for you? Those are great questions to ask on cross-examination of either the applicant or the city and their analysis of the sound report. So that would be very good to keep in mind. I'm not giving you legal advice, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I understand.
There's stuff in there that I would have the same questions about. So,
Okay.
and they have a report, so they can do that. Do you have anything further? I didn't want to cut you off.
Nope, that's all right. No, that's it.
Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Welsh?
Ms. Walsh, can you somehow point out to me where, on this site plan, where are you in this?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
This just helps us gain record.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I have it? We'll do that.
Oh my God, this is so tiny.
Here's Mars,
Right.
here's Saturn, and so here's the first house. That's
Okay. I am right here, I believe. That's the.
You're the first house adjacent.
That's, yeah.
That's you right there.
Now
Okay.
I'm at the end.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to know where you were in relation to
In the corner of that little notch out.
Yep, okay.
Of the north
Thank
end
you
of the
so much.
property.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Next, we would have Daniel Jeffrey. Or Welsh, as he calls you, but you know.
Okay, I got two first names. My name is Daniel Jeffrey. I've been sworn in, and I am a property owner and chairman of the business at 300 South Saturn Ave. We are a nonprofit software research and development company. A few things I'd like to point out. The application is, excuse me, I'd forgot my notes, had a hard time finding parking. The application is a comprehensive redevelopment or something like that, but, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a car wash. And I would like to respectfully ask that you consider the abutting street to be Gulf to Bay, as the applicant has already, stated that they're considering Gulf to Bay as the, immediate vicinity or the, where they're considering, it has to be in compliant with the properties around it. They're considering it as Gulf to Bay corridor. But also the code states the immediate vicinity, not just Gulf to Bay corridor, right? Gulf to Bay corridor is huge. It's several miles long. And so we have to consider the properties that are immediately adjacent to the site. And I'd like to point out the entire northern part of the property, all the adjacent properties, on Saturn and on Mars, and then immediately north, they're zoned commercial, but people live there, right? That's all residences, there's apartments, there's houses. So it's not just commercial, it's not just businesses that are there, people live here. And I'd also like to point out that Clearwater, as far as I understand, is under a modified phase 3 extreme water shortage. So I'm limited on when I can water my lawn, I'm limited on when I can wash my car. There's one day a week, but we can put in another car wash that's cycling, 2,000 cars through a day. So I just don't think that really fits the best interest of the city of Clearwater and the people here. And, I've talked to pretty much everybody that is adjacent to this property. I walked around. I'm the one that started the petition that these two ladies so generously got a lot more signatures than I did, but I was the first to initiate that petition. And I talked to almost every single resident in the immediate area, and not one of them wanted a car wash here. And I don't think we're against having the site be developed, but a car wash is a lot of traffic, it's a lot of noise, it's a lot of water usage, and this whole area is, it's where we walk our dog, it's where we walk our kid. I have a 1.5-year-old kid that I bring to work with me, and we go on walks in this neighborhood, and there's a lot of pedestrians on bicycles, a lot of teenagers, taking their bike to school and stuff like that. And so I don't think, having an additional 1,700 or 1,800 or whatever number of cars that they predict going through is really adequate for the neighborhood that's in the immediate vicinity of this property. And, they've tried to get around a lot of the regulations by putting the entrance and exit to the car wash on Saturn and Mars. So they didn't put it on Gulf to Bay, so they didn't have to get a DOT review of, changing the traffic, getting the utilities connected to DOT property. They can, change the direction of the building. They've done a lot of things that I don't think are appropriate with this development, and I guess that's all I have. I'd ask the board to deny this application.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Jeffrey? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The other Mr. Jeffrey, Fred Jeffrey.
Yes, my name is Fred Jeffrey, Jeffery, and I've been sworn in. That's my older brother, in case you're wondering. But I was really impressed. This is the very first, I don't even know what it's called in city council or whatever it is. I'm a little bit older than a teenager, and I've never participated in anything government related. But that's just to speak of the passion I have for this. But anyway, I was really impressed. You guys opened with a word of prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, liberty and justice for all. I myself run a Bible fellowship twice a week, and it's very successful. But recently, politics has come up in my Bible fellowship, and I put an immediate stop to it, not the time or place. But what I do want to point out is what I taught everybody there. One thing was that we are bound by the Word of God and God to pray for our government to have a quiet and peaceable life. So I want to speak for the people in the neighborhood concerning what I know and I observed and I experienced. Most commercial properties on Gulf to Bay are directly pull in and pull out, which is fine. This is not. This is Saturn and Mars. And as was pointed out earlier, if anybody wants to go eastbound on Keene or north or south on Keene or east on Gulf to Bay, you drive on Saturn and Mars and put in your GPS, you want to go that direction, and it goes straight through the neighborhood. And there's not many sidewalks. I walk a dog once or twice a day, and I vary the direction of where we go, up or down Saturn or Mars or down Rainbow, away from the area. And I drive up Saturn every day to and from work. And I drive very slow and cautious, but there's no sidewalks. And oftentimes I've got families that are walking, or younger people, or people dog walking, and I pull over in the other lane and go really slow. So we're talking a lot of traffic going through there, and that's what I oppose. And then I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I don't speak in front of crowds much. But we did walk around the neighborhood and spoke to pretty much everybody that was home on more than one occasion, so we caught more people. And like Daniel stated, nobody was in favor for it. They were opposed to this. And if it wasn't for the traffic, I wouldn't mind. I'm all for free market and capitalism. I'm for growth in a community. I'm for every business that can come in. I mean, we came in, but we sit there and park all day long and usually into the night. It's only 5 cars, so there's that. But that many cars going up and down those roads is not a quiet and peaceful life. And those are the people I speak for. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seriani.
My name is Afram Siriani, and I am sworn in. I don't have really too much to say today. I mean, the neighbors really said it all. But my biggest thing is we've been in the community for 10 years. I own 2 car washes in Clearwater, and I don't think adding, another car wash that is right next to us is really a good idea. I think there should be something else that happens there. There's 17 car washes in Clearwater. There's one 200 feet away from this one, and there's definitely not a shortage of it. So my reason today is just, I don't think Clearwater really needs another car wash. I mean, I know how the whole thing works. It's loud, there's music playing, there's vacuums on, literally 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day. You get cleaning in the morning, cleaning at nighttime. So it's like 15-hour operations every single day, 7 days a week. So I'm standing here in front of you guys. I just hope you guys deny it. I don't think this is really what Clearwater needs, another car wash. And every single car wash I own, they have never been a new development. Every single one have either been us buying an existing one, renovating it, doing it for the better. And so, I mean, I get we're competition. I'm not really standing here as being afraid of another competition. I really respect Woody's. I think they do a great job. But I don't think it's the best use adding it at this property right next to these neighbors and literally 200 feet from another car wash. And they want to build a coffee shop where you have one literally being open now, not even 500 feet away. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, Mr. Seriani?
Yeah, what type of car wash do you have? The same idea of a...
Same
tunnel?
business, exact same
It's
business
a tunnel
model.
and
Yeah.
it's a tunnel system, okay.
Tunnel with 3 vacuums, express models. We have a full service model as well. I own 5 of them. 4 is express, exact same business model as Woody's.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes care of our presentations of party status individuals. Does any city have any cross-examination it wants to do?
No cross, Mr. Chair.
All right. Does the applicant have any cross-examination it wants to do? So we're clear. Cross-examination would be asking those who spoke to clarify some of the things they said.
Yes.
It's not a second opportunity for you to testify.
I know that, and that was my hesitation.
Too many people come up and do the wrong thing, so it's.
I know, and I hate the idea of cross-examining, because I don't want to come across as confrontational on it. I actually want to recognize Daniel Jeffrey in particular, and there were a couple others that came out to the community outreach meeting we had. We had an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with him, and I'm getting to why I'm going to ask the question. The question I have for Mr. Jeffrey, Daniel Jeffrey, is one clarification. The concern that he's got about pedestrian safety, is that one of the concern about the lack of sidewalks within the neighborhood? Because as I've already testified, we're providing new sidewalks, filling in gaps that are existing along our continuous frontage in all 3 streets. But my understanding from my previous conversation with him is it's a concern about sidewalks throughout the rest of the neighborhood north of our property.
So is that the question to him?
Yes, I want to ask him if his concern is the lack of sidewalks in the neighborhood.
You're doing sidewalks off-site of your property?
We're doing sidewalks on all 3 road frontages, continuous the entire length, including widening DOT's sidewalk to make it multimodal. It's being increased in width, and as I said earlier, there's 8 existing driveways as well as back-in, back-out parking, and a drop-off area that's on the street. We're closing all of those, and therefore, as part of those driveway closures, we're putting in a new sidewalk to replace all of that as well.
So you're not doing anything off-site of your property?
We're doing adjacent to the property. We're not doing anything beyond the property lines.
Is that a consideration as a part of your presentation today?
We have it on the plan. I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question. We have it on the plans and.
To take it up to Rainbow?
Oh, no, we have not considered doing that, no. We did talk with Mr. Daniel and the rest of the residents that came out to the meeting about that we would help them with talking to the appropriate city staff about getting those sidewalks installed to provide a better continuous network. Okay.
Did you understand the question?
Yes.
Okay.
So, to answer briefly, yes, my main concern would be throughout the neighborhood, not necessarily just sidewalk on the immediate vicinity of the property. And I would like to thank the applicant for, putting in a sidewalk on this area. I think that is generous. But the main concern would be the additional traffic that has to go through the neighborhood, whether they're entering the car wash or they want to go on Keene or they want to go east on Gulf Bay. They're going to have to drive through, at least a block of neighborhood just to get out onto Keene. And so there's a lot of pedestrian traffic that goes through there, a lot of kids and a lot of people walking, elderly people and so forth. So I think that's my main concern.
Thanks. Do you have any further questions, Spencer?
No others. Everything was for closing.
Ms. Larrote, did you have any questions for any of the people who presented today? Ms. Caterino? Ms. Welsh?
Yeah, I have a question.
Come up to the microphone, please. Can't do it from there. We've got to make it a part of the public record.
And just make sure you specify who you're asking a question to so they can come up and answer.
Did you hear? Yeah. Who do you have a question for?
Well, whoever did the acoustic sound, model?
That would probably be the applicant since they're presenting it as part of their package.
Applicant?
Okay.
Okay.
So Mr. Pensa, she has some questions about the acoustic study by VAC.
Ready?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, can the applicant show the board exactly where my apartment is located in the sound model, identify the receiver used to represent it, and state the predicted sound level at that location?
He's right.
And while the applicant comes forward with that as far as what's in our materials, it was kind of blurry in his presentation, at least the handout that I got, as far as the numbers, the decibels and so on. But if you go into the public set documents, starting on page 153 is where the sound study stuff really has data that would be relevant to her question.
Yep.
Because I was looking for that myself when she asked her question earlier. So if you go ahead and pose your question, because he's right behind you to answer.
Oh, so I should better, okay.
And I'm going to apologize because I did not bring my reading glasses, so I'm not going to be able to read the number either, but I can show you where it is. The sound engineer went out and did a field assessment. They set up 13 meters. That's what these green dots show on the plan there.
And for us in our paperwork, that's page 154 of the PDF that we have.
Yeah, this is in the sound study, and then I put it into PowerPoint as well. And then the one on the left shows those same locations with it in a 3D perspective, so you can see where the surrounding buildings are as well. So that sound meter is adjacent to, is at the property line for the house. That's on that property, which is also our common property line where the future parcel is located. And then on the left, that location would be roughly the same place as where that call out where it says privacy wall along north property line. That's her apartment right there.
Okay.
So the meter reading for existing conditions and then the modeling itself was done based on right there at her property. And then,
I see it also on
And
page
that's in the-
unfortunately, I can't read the
and that's in
numbers,
that
so maybe I
table,
could read that on the overhead.
Yeah, I see it on page 146.
Do you recall what her address is? I might need to take.
think it's
Mine probably
I could
wouldn't
read the wall better than I
I
can
think
read
it's
the paper in
308.
front of me.
312? Oh, okay.
312 South Mars.
312.
It's not on the sheet. 308.
There's a duplex there as well. What's the address of that duplex?
I believe it's 308 or 308.
Yeah,
308.
308.
308 South.
Because the location seems to be right between 308 and 312, right between her
Yes.
unit and that unit.
So
Her unit seems to be to the left of the device that was capturing the sound, and 30, and the other one seems to be north of it, just from the way I'm looking at the images.
Yeah, it looks like the sound engineer used the address listed with the property appraiser. So that's position number 6 on the chart, which is roughly halfway down. The existing readings out there while they were taking those studies over a couple days was from 49 to 55 decibels. That's the noise that's occurring because of traffic passing on both arterials on Gulf to Bay and on Keene, as well as just other noise,
So-
other sound coming from the neighborhood.
On this table here, the last column, the one that's furthest to the right, is what they're picking up now?
That's when they went out there with sound meters, set
I just
them
want to
up.
make sure that we're understanding it.
Yes,
That's all.
yeah, so the far right column shows when they went out and they set it up and they did readings for each of those locations. That's the sound levels that they picked up for the duration of that time. The first column shows if the mitigation measures weren't being proposed, that the sound coming from Woody's would be 55.2 decibels. With the mitigation, it reduces it to 50.6, which shows that it's within the range of sound that's already occurring on there, so it would essentially being drowned out by the existing sound ambient sound that you hear in the neighborhood.
They're not additive?
Yeah, essentially taking it away, making it quieter.
No,
Because
sound
of the
doesn't work
fe-
that way.
Well, because of the
believe.
fence, I think is what it's,
Excuse
the way
me?
I understand it, it's because of the fence that they're putting up, it's blocking.
No, but I mean,
Well,
what
they-
he's stating is Woody's is not adding any sound.
Correct.
And I'm saying, really?
Yes, their modeling showed that from column 1 to column 2 shows that the mitigation measures reduce the sound levels.
So what you're stating is if
And-
once it's built and operating, the sound level, the ambient sound level you are seeing now pretty much will stay the same or get less?
It would stay the same. They're saying that it's not additive.
If you look, I have a different question that I'm going to come to after we kind of get yours clarified, because I want to make sure I understand it. So staying on that line 6, if you go back a little bit just over, so we're kind of following along. So the first dark blue column, calculation 1-1, that would be where it would go to if there was no sound mitigation. So instead of being in a range of 49 to 55, it'd be 55.4. So it would be going up with the addition of the car wash sounds. But then with the sound measures, it would come back down to around 50.
Yes.
The numbers on in the packet, I guess that chart might have been updated, because
There were
my
two-
line 6 looks different.
Okay. I'm not sure why, because this was the second sound study, because there were 2 sound studies that were
Okay.
submitted to the city.
Maybe there's one at the end of this discussion.
Yeah, there may be 2 in your packet if you got the entire submittal history. The initial sound study was looking at no mitigation versus doing the mitigation with the wall and it's not a silencer, but the sound deadening apparatus on the blower coming out of the car wash, as well as the additional insulation sound deadening materials in the car wash. They came back and did a second study, which is why there's that second column there, that says, okay, with adding the fence to the north property line, this is the additional benefit of it. So if you wanted to see the 3 increments of it, you would have to look at both studies together. But this one shows, okay, if nothing was done versus everything that's being proposed is done.
Okay. And just so we're clear, because I mentioned page numbers before, there's a newer study is earlier in that PDF. It begins on page 5. And the chart that he's got there is on page 7 of our PDF with those numbers there. And then the rest of the study follows it. So I was looking at it was in the packet, but it was the older study, but it was later in the packet. So I guess it would have been stacked
And that
up.
shows how,
Yeah.
we've been able to
Understood.
provide for
Understood. I just
additional
wanted to make sure that
improvements
we're
by
looking
doing
at the right
additional
thing
items.
as we evaluate everything, so.
Right.
All right. So that chart's consistent with what's on page 7 of what we've got here. Okay.
Yeah, and what I was shifting the paper to point out was that last bullet, that's a quote from the study, that he found it consistent with the city's sound ordinance, as well as that they're consistent either consistent with or lower than the current prevailing sound levels. And again, that was looked at during daytime hours. There are hours of operation limits, so it would not be occurring overnight, early morning hours. That would not occur.
Okay. Thanks for responding to her question. Ms. Welsh, did you have any additional questions? Yeah. You have to come to the microphone to ask them, I'm sorry. You can sit in the front row if you have more questions as a follow-up. That's quite all right. You don't have to, I don't want to make you go back and forth, but we need to record it and capture it in the microphone, so.
Okay, so I understand he's saying this complies, right? First of all, I don't see my apartment number. What is, I see 309. Now, I understand that's a parcel for our 2 apartments, but I don't see 312.
So the location of.
Yeah, I want to know where the sound receptor is.
Location of the sound monitoring device would be on the side of your unit or building that you're in that's closest to Mars.
Okay, so it would be 30.
It'd be right between that unit that goes north-south and your unit that goes east-west. It'd be
Yeah,
right
but
in the
why
corner of
isn't it where I'm at, right where I'm at? I'm right in the middle. I'm like, right, and this thing is gonna be.
I'm just answering your question about
Yeah,
where,
okay.
I'm not
So
sound engineer
anyway,
either,
I'm asking
so.
whether that conclusion specifically reflects the sound predicted at the closest occupied detached residence under realistic operating conditions. I cannot believe this. It's gonna be right, and they're gonna put up a wall, and I'm not gonna hear anything? I find that hard to believe. The wall is in my face. I'm being enclosed in by a wall, going straight across my apartment, straight down. And you're gonna tell me that's gonna stop sound? I don't buy it.
Did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Cross-examination, moving on then to either Daniel, Mr. Jeffrey, Daniel, did you have any questions for anybody else that's presented testimony today? Fred Jeffrey, did you have any questions for anybody? And Mr. Suriani, do you have any questions for anybody? So that wraps up the cross-examination portion. Is there anybody here from the public that has not requested party status that wishes to address the board? Ma'am, come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Harmon, and I'm the pastor of St. Paul's Lutheran Church. My spelling of the last name is Harman, and yes, I was sworn in. More than 4 years ago, the leadership of St. Paul's began a process of right-sizing our real estate. We spent months in conversation with our congregation, with potential redevelopment partners, and city officials. Throughout this process, one priority remained constant. Whatever happened to the church property should benefit our neighbors along the Gulf to Bay Boulevard and in the Skycrest neighborhood, where St. Paul's continues to distribute food to those in need every single week. When I spoke with Clearwater's mayor at the time, he identified one of the city's greatest needs for this neighborhood: meaningful employment opportunities. Over the years, we considered a wide variety of redevelopment proposals. At one point, we had a hotel developer under contract for more than a year. As part of that process, the property's land use and zoning were changed to general commercial, consistent with the surrounding Gulf to Bay corridor. During that process, we did not encounter opposition to either the redevelopment of the church property or the zoning designation. Many developers have approached us with alternative proposals. We declined to move forward with any proposal that lacked a clear plan. People can submit to purchase the property without making any plan public, including to us. We believed it was important to evaluate actual projects, not just purchase offers. After careful consideration with many possibilities presented to us, we chose to move forward with Woody's because of several well-researched and deeply important factors. First, Woody's is an accomplished commercial developer with a proven track record of doing what is promised. The company places a high value on being a good neighbor in every community it serves. Second, Woody's has demonstrated a long-standing commitment to community involvement, supporting local schools, nonprofit organizations, and community initiatives. And most importantly, Woody's is committed to hiring from within the immediate community whenever possible. This commitment reflects an opportunity to provide jobs, hope, and economic opportunity in the very community that St. Paul's has served for more than 70 years. In our earlier discussions with Woody's, I decided to learn more about the company firsthand. Beyond reading news articles and company materials, I visited the Woody's location on Olmerton Road and had my car washed. The site was immaculate. No one there knew who I was or why I had come, and while I was there, I struck up a conversation with a young employee, likely in his early 20s, and I asked about his experience for working for Woody's. He enthusiastically told me it was the best job he ever had. When I asked why, he spoke not only...
I'm going to need you to wrap it up quickly because your 3 minutes is actually up, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
I'll finish. Thank you for your consideration. On behalf of St. Paul's Lutheran Church, I encourage you without reservation to approve this project and welcome Woody's to the Clearwater and Skycrest neighborhood. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Sir, come forward, state your name. Let us know if you've been sworn, and you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Boyd. My name's Jackson,
Bacchus, B-A-C-H-U-S, Soren. And I'm speaking for the half of Sunshine. We have a location on Missouri with the sound ordinance, with a fence. We have a fence also. We stopped playing our music at 9 a.m. because we got neighbors calling in for complaining with loud music. So that's firsthand. Traffic, firsthand we see traffic when we do events, grand opening, backs up any kind of road. That's just pretty much what I wanted to say for the firsthand experience.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else in the public have any comments they wish to make to the board? Seeing none, closing remarks by planning and development staff.
Got something real quick here I just want to remind the board about.
Sure, go
So
ahead.
today we did hear a lot of testimony from the residents about potential traffic issues and potential noise pollution. And we didn't necessarily hear it from any experts that were among the residents. So I just want to remind you all that that testimony that we heard would not be considered competent substantial evidence, which means it's not something that you should take into consideration, in my opinion, with your decision that you make today. So that's all I wanted to bring up.
Thank you. Any closing remarks by, go through the people with status. Ms. Arote, any closing remarks? You have 3 minutes.
Again, Carolyn Arodi. First of all, just to represent what he just said here, we're all kind of new to this. We're just citizens of the community, and we were told actually, like any kind of, we didn't understand that we could have such experts show up and actually be listened to. I do want to make it clear that Woody's, as of not but maybe a month or so ago, sold out to private equity, so it is not a community-owned company. It is a private equity-backed company. And we haven't been able to find anywhere online that they've done any real charitable work or anything for the community. And since most of the car wash itself is self-proclaimed self-washing, I don't really know exactly how many people they'd be hiring at all from this community to run the car wash, because it does most of the work itself. So again, yes, I guess we're not experts, but we're experts at living in our community. And yes, there are no sidewalks. Nobody's going to start building. Most of the community doesn't want sidewalks. They're beautiful homes. We are a very nice community of people that just, in normal circumstance, are not having to deal with some kind of a commercial situation put into our residences. So again, I don't appreciate being told that none of our testimony should be listened to, and hopefully you will sincerely consider it. Thank you.
Just telling what the law says.
Ms. Katerina, did you have closing remarks? You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think I just want to reiterate that this is an intensive commercial use being placed very close to a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. And, you know, I'm somebody who just cares about my living experience, and it really hurts to hear that guy say, just don't listen to us. I'm sorry, but it does. So, you know, it's my home. It's where I live. It's where I work. And it would just be really sad to see the community like turned into a, you know, a high commercial use place instead of what it used to be and what it is right now, peaceful and, you know, a place you want to go home to. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Welsh, any closing remarks?
I'd just like to say, this is not simply a commercial business operating next to residences. Woody's is a high-volume, repetitive-use operation with vehicles continuously entering and exiting, vacuum equipment operating, blowers cycling throughout the day, and associated traffic noise. The question should not simply be whether commercial development is permitted on this property, but whether this particular intensive use is compatible with the homes immediately surrounding it. This isn't an inconvenience to me. Like I said before, this is my home. I've lived in Clearwater 35 years. I've lived at this place 3, and I love it. I love the peace and quiet. It's the perfect place for me. I couldn't believe I had it, and I can afford it. I cannot simply relocate if the impact becomes unbearable, nor should residents have to leave their homes to accommodate an incompatible development. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Daniel Jeffrey?
Yeah, my name is Daniel Jeffrey. I've been sworn in. I would like to thank the board for hearing all of us today. And, we may not be experts in a field of study, but, we are experts in living and working in this neighborhood. And, whether or not this is approved, it has to be compatible with the nature of the surrounding properties in the immediate vicinity. And, I would like to, reiterate that, we have 150 signatures on petitions from those that, live and work in this community. And, I think the general consensus of us that are in the immediate vicinity is that we don't want a high-traffic car wash, right next to where we live and work and walk our dogs and our kids. And, I would just ask that you keep that into consideration. Thank you.
Fred Jeffrey, do you have any closing? No comments? Okay, thank you. Mr. Siriani, do you have any closing comments? None? Okay. All right, closing remarks are done. That would conclude the public hearing portion of this. At this time, discussion and vote by the board. We can either start with somebody making a motion, or we can start with going kind of around the table and having a discussion about it like we've done in some matters in the past, and the amount of evidence here, or amount of testimony here, I should say. I'm open to either way as far as the board goes.
Can I get a clarification of something, though?
Yeah, speak up. What'd you say?
Sorry, can I get a clarification?
From, what do you need a clarification of?
Well, isn't there a light at Saturn?
No. Lights at Duncan and at King.
Duncan, okay, I'm thinking Duncan, okay, then maybe I'm thinking of Duncan,
Yeah.
all right.
There's no light there.
Chair, I have a comment that I'd like to address, that I'd like to ask. I think it's a city to Austin Dole, if I could.
What's your, let's discuss it first, and then if we need to go to Steve.
Of the testimony, many of the of the third party or the granted party, they all related to compatibility. Was this project compatible with the neighborhood? Compatible. I heard that word repeatedly, and I just want to address that, or let the city address that clearly, so they can know that that has to pass the land use compatibility. I mean, there's laws that govern the compatibility.
Well, yeah, and the reason why I want to hear your question first is that's kind of part of their presentation, and it's a good question, because I felt that one of the emails that came in, and I believe it was Mrs. Arote's email, I tried to address the city's points on compatibility one by one. And I thought it was a well-thought-out email. And I think the city, in putting their presentation together, was addressing that. So the report from the city that we have as part of our evidence has addressed all those points, and that's part of what we should have read in advance here, and I think we all did. Okay. And those, the public comments, hers in particular, I think addressed those points, and we can weigh that in sort of deliberation. I don't know that we reopen for a presentation on each of the compatibility items at this point.
No, I
But her email was actually very good. Probably one of the better ones I've seen over the years I've been on this board, to be honest with you. I don't want to reopen the presentation. And that's what that would take. If they go through all the compatibility points, it's actually in the staff report, so I don't know that we do that from scratch.
I agree. I just wanted to make sure we're clear that that issue has been addressed. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Anybody have other comments? I have a few comments I want to make, but I think I'll go ahead and make, and we can have additional discussion or go to a motion from there. And I want to clarify something, because I think, and I understand some of the offense that may have been taken by the city attorney's comment. while our rules of evidence and our rules of procedure are, I don't want to say loose, they allow us a bit of flexibility. The reality is, the expectation is if there's expert reports, that they're rebutted with expert reports, because I think Ms. Welsh's point that was really important to me, and it concerns me, to be honest with you. I'm struggling weighing it in my head, because the location of that sound sensor that picked up that information, that sound was further away from the vacuums than where the back corner of the house is where she occupies. And that kind of bothers me in terms of how representative that is of where the sound's going to impact her. And the reality is, I'm not certain, without her permission, it could have been placed any place else, because the way her unit is and the way she's got the back area, they wouldn't be able to put anything there, it seems like. It had been very difficult to, without permission, but where it was put probably makes some sense. And that's me, not as an expert, making some assumptions there, but that's one of the reasons why you need expert testimony. So the comment was that you didn't know what you're talking about. The comment is that there's a burden of proof that usually you match expert testimony with expert testimony. And in this particular instance, I have seen these matters come up. I've been on this board. I served for 8 years, and I termed out, and I took a break for a bit, and I came back on, and I'm going on 3 or 4 years again now. A lot of times I feel bad because, and not that I don't hear, but people find out about it a week before or 2 weeks before. And the first email I got on this, I was copied on an email back in April. And I didn't see anything on our agenda, and then I saw an agenda for this month. I'm like, okay, it's coming up. There was plenty of time to get, if you're looking at a report prepared by an expert, it takes time for a new expert to counteract that. But there was plenty of time in this instance, and that kind of concerns me because it makes it difficult for us. We don't necessarily want to ignore what you have to say with boots on the ground, but by the same token, there was time in this instance as compared to a lot of times where people show up in force to oppose something, but they put their efforts together in 2 or 3 weeks. There's just not possible time to get an expert to rebut it. And so I'm kind of sitting here torn, because I do think that would have been helpful to me and the rest of the board, and we don't have it to counteract the expert reports. As far as my overall impressions of this, as we look at and deliberate what we've got here, that sound issue to me is of a concern. I'm familiar with the area. The husband of one of my first cousins, his mother lived in the area, a block and a half away from this for years, many years ago before she passed. So I've driven through these neighborhoods over the past, and I've also known with my service in this board that these properties along this corridor here are commercial properties. And the struggle that we faced each time, so people understand, is you're using the property residential, but it could be used for something else because it's actually zoned commercial, and should that limit what the other commercial properties can use their property for? And that's the struggle that we have up here as a board. It's not taken lightly, and we have a lot to weigh in that context, but there's really, it kind of goes back and forth in terms of weighing all that. And as I look at this one here, it isn't to be a high-intensity use. I also want to mention for our board, as we're looking at this, it's interesting to note there are no curb cuts on Gulf to Bay, and you probably couldn't get one if you tried. So no matter what use is going to be going on this property, the curb cuts are going to be from both Mars and Saturn. That's just probably not going to change. Would you?
I disagree with
You
that.
disagree? You think they're going to curb cut?
I've looked at every project along Gulf to Bay, and I've never had an issue with DOT getting a curb cut. And
Really?
look at the new coffee shop. They're sharing with Little Caesars. They combined the two to make it one. Everybody has.
Combine two to make it one.
Right.
But there was a curb cut there. There were 2 curb cuts there.
Right.
A new curb cut is a little bit different. I mean, you're more of an expert on that. I know from my clients coming to me as a commercial real estate attorney, one of the biggest impediments is getting a new curb cut as compared to combining and reducing curb cuts, which they're reducing a lot of the significant impediments that just wouldn't be allowed in today's scheme of development.
I'm doing one on 19 right now, and there's 70,000 trips. I think there's 50 on this road, and everybody's gotten a curb cut. And if you look at the community centers, they all have them. I mean, Walmart, everybody has it left in, they're forced to have it, and they're allowed. And I think in terms of pushing all the traffic to the back is impeding that residential neighborhood. They don't have sidewalks. Why wouldn't that be a condition on the city approval? It's not. I don't think they really looked at that. You're bringing a lot of trips with the coffee shop, it's probably not gonna come in front.
Let me finish. I'm understanding your comments, and I'm not going to disagree with you on it, but so I was looking at the curb cuts as being as a challenge, and you're saying it may not be, so that's great to know just from that context. But I do look at this and say that, we've got overall an issue of limiting what the property can be used for, and the fact that properties abutting it are all commercial properties, regardless of how they're using it. That's a choice of the owners of that property and how they use it with their zoning. And that's where the dilemma arises. That's where it becomes difficult for these things, is how do you limit somebody from property use that otherwise. And I don't know that we can necessarily impose upon this developer to put sidewalks all the way up the street on both sides of the street. They're putting sidewalks that are wrapping around the property from their testimony. And that's about as far as they can go. I mean, otherwise you're taking land from others.
I also question the traffic, because if someone wants to go south on Keene, wouldn't they want to go up Mars and turn on Rainbow and get on Keene that way?
Yeah, I would.
This thing only shows like one or two
Well,
cars.
Can you get out from Rainbow? Well, from Rainbow you can.
Yeah, you'd be going south, though.
No, I think you have to go up to Cleveland to,
That far?
You gotta go to Cleveland.
yeah, you gotta
So
go to
so
Cleveland.
they'd be going through that?
You go on the left to Cleveland to turn right, then turn right on Keene to go,
And
or
so
left
if
on
you
Keene.
wanted to go south again, and you stayed on Gulf to Bay, you'd have to go up to, and take a U-turn or something?
Take
I
a
mean,
U-turn or go down to, if you want to go direction, go down to Saturn where the light is and go up north that way. There's, and the neighborhood north of that, because on my way here, I drove through, on Saturn's side. I came down Saturn from Keene on Cleveland, just because it was worthwhile to do on the way here. They already have traffic calming devices with some of the islands and the narrowed curbing so that cars are limited to go, and
do they put, you want speed bumps or something?
I mean, that's I think there's some things that could or should be considered that would help enhance safety that are abutting this property, so that people are already going slow before they go up the street, because they already have it further up the street. And there's at least two of those going between Cleveland and the north side of this property at Rainbow that have the narrowing with the circle in the middle.
I mean, I would be curious, if this does go through, that they do a sound study after, just to see if it is really impacted the sound or not.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. So anyways, those are my general comments on this. I'm not kind of suggesting which way I'm voting on this. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of just some of the factors that I'm looking out there. It always does irk me, being that my daytime job is a lawyer, even though I don't go to court anymore, that expert testimony isn't met with expert testimony. And that always makes it difficult for me, because that burden of proof to me is significant. But those are my thoughts on it. If anybody else wanted to share any thoughts, or if anybody wanted to make a motion one way or the other on this, then we can go from there. Did you have any comments to make? I'm going to go around and ask just that, so I don't miss anybody. Diane?
One of the comments I have is, could we request that they do like a pre-application meeting or something like that with DOT to see if they could put cuts in front as opposed to putting the cuts on the side? If DOT comes back and says.
To add that as a condition? I mean,
No,
because
so-
that changes the whole.
Right, so at this point, they've provided a plan to you of what they want that development to be. Staff's analyzed that and said either it has or hasn't met the criteria, and that's before you right now to decide. So
That kind of
if you, conditioning it would be a redevelopment of the project that they've presented to you. They certainly can do that. At any point, the applicant can always withdraw their application and change it. But at this point, they've put forth to you what they want you to consider in approving.
I guess what I'm.
Can Pete answer the question?
Before we go to Peter, let me ask you, before we go any further on that part of it, just so the board is clear in terms of our options, you either make a motion to vote to approve it, make a motion to deny it. Could we also, on our own, ask that it be continued to get more information with some of the stuff that we're looking for? Or are we limited to approve or deny?
I believe you're approve, deny, and you might be able to approve with conditions.
Okay. I'm just,
I'll have
I'm
to-
just curious because,
Let me look at your code real quick in
thanks.
approving.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they have to redevelop the project, but if FDOT is so stringent about not allowing cutouts anymore on Gulf to Bay because of whatever reason, if they have like a
Well,
pretty.
I'm going to defer to him. He feels that
Yeah.
it's feasible, so I'm not going to, don't take
but
my
I'm
comment on
saying
it. I don't-
if
that's not my.
we don't know for sure, put it that way. But if we have a pre-app with them and they say, no, absolutely not, they can't do it. That, to me, also tells the neighborhood behind there that everything has been done to not impede the neighborhood.
I think the problem with that is.
It's just
that the plan changes if you do that, so it couldn't happen. And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna- just please wait. But I think that the plan changes if that were the case, and that's, so we wouldn't be approving the plan they gave us, and that's not really a condition that we can impose.
Okay. No, I just was curious.
I appreciate that. But we'll come back to some other stuff while she's looking at that. Louis, did you have any comment on this?
Yeah, I just, want to point out, this property is zoned commercial. There's a lot of uses, if you look at the table, what could be allowed there that, in my opinion, would be worse than the car wash. As far as access goes, I think there are definite advantages to using the existing roads for access, although it does impact the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Another curb cut on Gulf to Bay would be disruptive, I think, to traffic on Gulf to Bay. And I think, for circulation, I think it's always good to have alternate accesses as well. And I think the orientation and the sound mitigation that the applicant has proposed has done a lot, I think, to mitigate the effects of this use. And, again, there's other uses of the site that I think would be more disruptive. This use would close at 7 p.m. There's uses that would not, that, would stay open. So, in my opinion, I think they've done a good job. Unfortunately, the zoning is what it is, so.
Michelle?
Yeah, I think that the application is very complete and does address the noise, the traffic, the compatibility. I appreciate the testimony today so much, but our hands are somewhat tied in what we can consider in our position. So it is kind of a struggle for us up here with not having expert testimony to counter the expert testimony. I would like to ask the chair if we are allowed to add any conditions at all, like speed bumps or sidewalks for safety for the residents. I know she's looking some of that up right now, but.
Did you have some feedback for us?
I did.
Thank
So
you.
in looking at your code, it provides that you may grant approval, you can grant approval subject to specified conditions, or you can deny the application.
All right.
With regard to continuances, that's something that's normally asked either of the.
By staff
by-
or the applicant?
Yep, by the staff or the applicant
Okay.
in continuing it. So.
Thank you. I appreciate clarifying that so we all kind of know where we stand.
Absolutely.
So a condition, and that's a question we would have to ask, I think, of staff more specifically than you, but a condition of doing some traffic calming type, something in the street as a condition, that's something that we would, I don't know to what extent we can add that as a condition or not.
That would be something I would like to get clarified, if we can.
Okay. Where do I get clarification from that on whether that would be a permissible condition for us to add? That there needs to be some traffic calming in the streets abutting it, so that way as they go north on that street and they go into there's not, it adds an element of safety for the pedestrians and so on.
May I, if
Yes.
I may?
Yes.
So back to
I figured it'd be you, but I wanted to
Yes.
ask her who.
Yeah. Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development again. I will speak from very general history of the board.
Yeah.
Sometimes questions like this have come up, and the board has chosen to have a short recess so that staff could have a little bit of discussion with the applicant or just internally, and we are fortunate we do have a representative from Public Works here. We're always thoughtful in the conditions that we would recommend or be amenable to be added. there are times that the board adds additional conditions. So just kind of a history, it's, it's not unheard of that the board has offered up additional questions like this. Sometimes we have helped to
So
wordsmith.
let me do it this way then. I'd like to get feedback from these two gentlemen. I think I'm going to come to you last because you have some good stuff, and I not that you don't, but I really started to hear what you had to say, so I think that would be impactful. That way you hear all of our comments, and then we'll take a brief recess, and then we'll come back to it. So, Albury, did you have any?
No, I just, like I said, I mean, I was concerned about the traffic and the sound to the extent that if they claim that this is not adding any more sound, I would like that confirmed at the end. That's all.
Okay. Your comments?
Well, I'm frustrated in that this is always on the consent agenda, every project that we see. And I don't think there's a ton of internal thought or pushback given to the applicant relative to the site plan and the trip count that's going to be generated on the secondary roads. I mean, there's no sidewalks in this neighborhood. Everybody has discussed it's a residential neighborhood. They live here. I think sidewalks should have been a condition of the consent agenda where y'all push that for the neighborhood itself. There's right-of-way there for it, and it's a safety issue now, and it'll be a bigger one once this gets approved if it does. The other point is, I know that it's easier to get two uses on this site by taking that curb cut off of Gulf to Bay, and that may be an issue with DOT. I don't know. The staff could have pushed this where they have the entrances closer to Gulf to Bay. I know DOT is always an issue. They want them farther back, but they're just pushing all the traffic to the back towards the residential uses that sit on commercial property. I think that's another item that should have been looked at up front. And the last point is this comprehensive infill where the code doesn't apply. And I'm going to ask staff, Lauren, is this the whole Gulf to Bay corridor is comprehensive infill now? The city of Clearwater, is it all comprehensive infill where we negate zoning and the codes that are required today? I truly don't understand that.
Comprehensive infill redevelopment project is a separate use, and applicants are able to request it as the applicable use for any project, and staff evaluates based on those appropriate criteria. So
Zoning doesn't apply relative to the conditions within a code in terms of being perpendicular or parallel to Gulf to Bay for a car wash. That's not a consideration, is what you're telling me under comprehensive.
it's considered a separate use, and that's consistent with any other application brought before the board as a comprehensive infill redevelopment project.
One comment I have on what you just said, though, is I'm looking at the Google Maps image, which is not that old because it looks like the property it's not really being used in this picture. There are no curb cuts on Gulf Bay presently.
Correct. So,
well, I understand that, but I'm saying on this property, they're not giving up a curb. There is no curb cut on Gulf Bay. They would be applying for a new one, just so we're.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just, it sounded like you were saying they were.
no, there's not one now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all I wanted to clarify. So the question is whether we can add a condition, and we'll take a brief recess, maybe 5 minutes, very good drinks of water, for staff to confer and maybe confer with the applicant about whether there could be a condition added, the consideration be given condition added for traffic calming and or sidewalks beyond the property.
Yeah, and then my only concern with that is I think we're going to have to be more specific because is it
There are
traffic
options
calming?
there. I don't want to limit the options. If they're going to talk about, let's give them all the options they've got,
Okay,
and
I just
then come
know
back
that,
to us and see what they come.
I don't think an applicant would agree to sidewalks throughout the neighborhood
I'm not suggesting that they would, but I'm also.
So Chairman Butzke, so these improvements would be off-site, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's traffic calming, it clear would be on Saturn Avenue and Mars Avenue, and if it's a sidewalk, I don't know how far, I mean, they already got sidewalks on what they're proposing, so I don't know that there's much more that we could do there, but since it was brought up by one of the board members, I wanted to address it and leave it. Since you're going to talk anyways, tell me what you think is feasible. if you can have a conversation with the applicant. And we'll take a break for, see, it's 3:14 according to my phone time, so.
Real quick, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but just very quickly, as I understand it, the board's concern is with potential safety, and you would like the city staff and the applicant to talk about that and come back to you as to whether or not there are any conditions that can be added to address that.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Specifically safety on Gulf to Bay or?
On
or all roads?
Mars and Saturn.
Mars, Saturn, okay, all roads, okay.
On Mars and Saturn. Gulf to Bay, they're widening the sidewalk already. The plan is there's no curb cut on Gulf to Bay. I think the pedestrian issue is more, and the safety issue for the folks who are maybe not in vehicles on those roadways is going to be on Saturn and Mars.
Okay, because there's no current like sidewalks on
Yeah,
those
there's-
two roads?
and
Okay.
there-
And no speed bumps? No,
Yeah,
no.
and the nearest traffic calming device is at Rainbow and Saturn. I don't know if there's one on Mars. I didn't come down Mars, I came down Saturn. I didn't have time to drive through all of them. So give some discussion. It's 3:15. We'll take a break for 10 minutes, start 3:25. Okay? Restroom, water.
Trying to get real good language for you.
Thank you very much.
audio back on? Okay, so procedure, oh, thank you. Procedure we're going to do is I'm going to reopen the meeting so the staff and the applicant can address what we asked them to consider and discuss. And I'll ask staff, Ms. Matzke, if you can give us a summary of what you think, and we'll go from there. Are there any conditions that you think you can propose that would kind of appease our concerns?
Staff did work with the applicant, and they're written down that direction, so I'll ask
Okay.
Mr. Kozak to read that in as he was the scribe.
The applicant has agreed to the following. Condition 28, the property shall provide to the city satisfaction on-site signage consistent with MUTCD standards that address safety concerns commonly associated with increased traffic in the residential neighborhood. Condition 29, the property shall provide directional signage and pavement markings to direct traffic exiting the site to Gulf to Bay Boulevard. Condition 30, the project shall provide sidewalk extensions to Rainbow Drive along the east side of Saturn and the west side of Mars if there's adequate available right-of-way, if feasible, and to the satisfaction of Public Works.
And what I would be happy to do is put that in layman's terms. And of course, then we could reread anything specifically. So regarding the on-site signage related to, on-site signage related to traffic concerns, that would be anything that is, of course, meets official standards that we're all held to for signage, but kind of reflecting you're entering a residential neighborhood. Whatever the official signage could be, we'll work with them on that. Regarding the directional markings, that would be to strongly encourage the turns back to Gulf to Bay, but it would not include, formal barriers to fully prohibit it. So the thought is in conjunction with signage and pavement markings and consistent with the traffic study, the vast majority of people will go to Gulf to Bay. And then for the sidewalks, that is something that the applicant has volunteered. However, at the city side, we did not study that. We don't know what utilities are there. We need to speak with the city engineer further. So that is where we have some caveats on behalf of the city, because there could be something that we're just unaware of right now that would potentially make it infeasible.
Okay.
So
particularly that third one then, the last condition that was added, that one is really subject to whether it can be done more than anything else. The other ones, there's degrees of what can be done. The third one is there might be utilities there may not be enough right-of-way between the curb and lot line to allow for a sidewalk and those kinds of things.
But should all of those things marry up, then the applicant
The sidewalks would go north to
incur
Rainbow.
the cost to do that, and they volunteered to
And
do that.
the applicant accepts those additional conditions?
Yes, we are acceptable to those conditions.
Thank you. All right. Thanks. Then I'm going to go ahead and close the public.
I think that the affected parties, if they have any comment on the
okay.
condition.
So the parties who add party status, there's 2, 3, 4 here still. Do you have any conditions or questions on these conditions that were just addressed? If you do, you have to come to the microphone so we can hear you. If not, you can just shake your.
Yeah.
These three, yes. It's the only thing that's open for right now.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Sirianni, either of the Mr. Jeffries? Either? No? Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and close the public side of it again. And we have a staff report now with 3 additional conditions. And we've had discussion. Does anybody have a motion on this matter, FLD 2026-02005? Remember, our options are approve with conditions, and we have these 3 additional conditions, or deny. Is what our motion would be.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
to approve case number FLD 2026-02-005. Based on the evidence in the record, thank you.
Yeah.
Including the application and staff report, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law stated in the staff report with the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report and as amended in the discussion.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion amongst the board on that motion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think we've identified some issues that are larger than this specific project that would have applied to any commercial development. And I don't know what the answer is, but it may warrant the city looking into addressing these at some later point. But again, beyond the scope of this project.
Okay. Well
But
said.
good work.
All right, then if there are no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. That concludes that matter. Next on our agenda for today are the director's items.
All right, so before we adjourn, two brief announcements. Well, one will be slightly longer. First, there will be no Community Development Board meeting in September. We did not receive any resubmitted applications for consideration, so no board action is needed, and we have nothing else to bring forward to you, just as FYIs or anything. So the next scheduled meeting will be in October, and we'll provide all the usual notices and agenda material.
Here or someplace else?
In advance. Here is the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Just curious about where our timing on
Yes.
that.
Yeah, so further notice, it will be here, so by then we should be in the new city hall.
You got to get the bugs worked out, the technology set up and everything. I get it, okay.
And we definitely don't want this to be live, so.
All right.
And so the second thing, actually, I'm probably going to read more of my notes than I usually would because I try to work it out, but the timing on this is actually, because there's no September meeting, the timing is kind of important. So this is in advance of October. So on October 1st, Mayor Rector will be presenting a proclamation declaring October 2026 Community Planning Month in Clearwater. So Community Planning Month recognizes the people who help shape the places we live, work, and spend time together. It's also a chance to celebrate our residents and community leaders who take part in the work that guides Clearwater's future. So that includes, the members of this board who, as you know, you volunteer your time to listen to our residents, carefully consider proposed developments, and help guide how our city grows and takes different shapes. Your work, I really wrote this without this project in mind. Your work affects things people experience every day, from the look and feel of our neighborhoods to the preservation of historic places and planning new homes and businesses. The decisions and recommendations you make help connect individual projects with the community's broader vision for Clearwater's future. It's also an opportunity for us to recognize our development review planners. We have a couple left. They work with our residents, property owners, businesses, and other city departments to guide projects through the review process and help ensure that development fits within Clearwater's plans and standards. And then while not present today, our long-range planners help the city look beyond those projects in front of us today and prepare for the years ahead. And y'all are a vital part of that process as well, though we haven't been in front of you just recently. So in long-range planning, their work helps Clearwater plan for our changing needs. So some things that we might be bringing forward based on today, including housing, transportation, redevelopment, neighborhood character, and historic preservation. So good planning is ultimately about making thoughtful choices today that will serve the community well tomorrow. Board members and planning staff have different roles, but each contributes to a Clearwater that is welcoming, well-planned, and prepared for the future. So we look forward to the mayor's presentation on October 1st at their council meeting. And in advance of Community Planning Month, I did want to thank you for your time, your care, the expertise, the questions that you ask, that's ad-libbed, and the public service that you give to the city every day. So thank you very much for that. a month in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to hear all that.
But if
That's
anyone wants
great.
to join us on October 1st, you're more than welcome to come. Those are given at the beginning of the council meetings. So
Put that on the
shortly
calendar.
after
We'll see how that
6
works
o'clock,
out.
if you got nothing else going on.
So, before we adjourn, usually we, board members, one thing I want to bring up to the board, and also for you, Lauren, in case there's any feedback or input, your information, materials you want to give me, the Clearwater Neighborhood Coalition asked me to present on what we do as a board at their September meeting. And so far, I don't have any conflicts. I told them, yes, I blocked it off, but there's a closing I might have to go to Atlanta for, so if that happens, I may end up missing it. But at the end of the day, it sounds like it's going to be brief, and they want to know a few things. And just so this board knows, I want, if anybody has any input about something you think that we should be telling folks in the community, feel free to email me. I won't have to do anything with any cases in particular, but I will be talking about how the hearings generally go. I'm going to be talking about expert witnesses, and I'm going to be talking about party status so people understand what those mean. And I think that might be helpful, but if somebody thinks I shouldn't say something or something I should add, feel free.
Say that. That's been something that's going on for years. I mean, every time these people come up here, and they're all emotional, they don't realize, we hear you, but you can't do much.
No, I agree, and that's why I kind of welcome the opportunity to speak. And so I thought I'd share with you all that I'm going to be doing that, but if anybody has any input they want me to share, or if staff thinks it's not a good idea, let me know. You can hold my own, but it should be interesting to do. And it'd be great to kind of share my perspective of what we do on the board as compared to their conversations they have with staff, so.
I have no concerns at all. I welcome hearing what you learn from it. Maybe we can talk about it at the following meeting. Just since I'm ad-libbing today anyway, things that came to mind is after some challenging cases many years ago, I believe you were still on board, some of you may have been also, the city published a citizen's guide to the Community Development Board. We've had conversations since then about kind of revisiting it to make it a 2.0 version. It's definitely like to the letter of the law, what it means, but sometimes, now there's a lot of different tools that are available to help us still keep that information while making it more understandable to the general public. So that was definitely something I heard again, which is a good reminder of those types of efforts that we do. We should always be revisiting and fine-tuning the tools that we have that do try to bridge that gap between us who sit here every month and look at these things, and even then, practitioners, it's difficult, rules change, things like that, but bridging that gap between us and the public, because they do play a vital role in this as well.
Let me ask
I'm
you a
grateful
question.
that you're going.
Let me ask you a question about that, and not to make this longer than it's already been, but it would seem to me that a good practice, if you don't already do it, would be that if you get an email, like in this, the one we heard today, without talking about the facts of the case, there were emails from at least two people that I saw, and I saw them early on, because I was copied on them, that the first communication you get from somebody in the neighborhood objecting to it, they should be sent the PDF of that. Understand, is that something that's happening? Or it's probably a worthwhile thing to do, because all of a sudden, you've given them a tool that they don't need. Just because it's on a website somewhere doesn't mean they're going to find the website and go to it. But if it's a PDF that you could, thanks for your interest, we're going to get back to you on that. Here's something that explains how the board works. Just put it in your hands as a response to the first communication would be actually, I think, really helpful to a lot of these folks.
100%.
I think that's a very good suggestion. I know that our staff does share the link to it, frequently.
The link is fine.
But
as long as they're getting access, they're being told, directed someplace where they can see it, as compared to saying, there's resources available to understand how this works. So that doesn't do anything for anybody.
Again, it's a good reminder, because sometimes, we get to responding to the question at need without taking that extra step. So I don't want to insinuate that staff's not doing it by any means, but things like this, these are the types of meetings that we go back and talk through after, and that's absolutely a very valid and helpful suggestion.
Great.
So something that's an easy change and just reminder to everyone on the team as well.
Chair, could I make a suggestion or offer this as a gift? Could we print, I know the Clearwater Neighborhood Coalition has like, I don't know how many neighborhoods are represented, but there's a lot, like 50, 25 to 50 or something.
I haven't been to one of their meetings before, so I'm
It's a
looking forward to
lot.
it.
I think it's a lot.
They have a good turnout. They're doing
They
it.
do
That's good.
seem to have a lot. So what would be the harm in passing that booklet out when you speak to each neighborhood chair? At least they have it, maybe?
If you were to let me, just send me a note reminding me when the meeting is, I can see we can.
I'll say it now so it'll be on the record.
Okay, well.
Pretty certain I put it on my calendar already.
Someone help me
I'll let you
remember.
know.
I'm gonna write it down, but.
Let me get, it should be on my work calendar right now.
To add into that, maybe your IT department can just automatically.
Monday, September 14th.
Monday, September 14th, CNC. A few things that we do, I mean, not that everyone reads the full agenda. Our cover sheet has a link to it, but it does get sometimes buried in there. Alba manually adds some things for those who come in person that actually were developed as part of that effort, and that's the order of the meeting and some of the cheat sheets. These were things that came from that effort because we know, it's a lot. You do a great job, Chair, reading it into the record what the effort is, but.
But I just wanted to share that if you were to go ahead and put Citizens Guide, it's the first thing that comes up on our city website. So in our search box, just put Citizens Guide, and the Community Development Board Citizens Guide shows up.
Really?
And
Wow.
it's shared that way as well.
That's great. Well, I'm glad, I was on the board when we talked about doing that and that was done. I'm glad to see that it's still being done. Because we thought that there were a lot of people showing up that just, and they couldn't find the information before. Now they don't know where to look, but we know it's out there, which is a great thing. Just get, this will help as well.
I think to your point, many people here, this was their first time interacting with the city of Clearwater or with our board.
Yep.
And so they wouldn't necessarily know to search for Citizens Guide unless someone's like, hey, check out the Citizens Guide. I think we usually try to do a little bit of additional information during community planning month. So this could be something we could do just help generally with a Facebook post or social media, like a did you know that there's information. It's timely with the month of October. It would give us a little bit of relevant content. So that's another thing that I'll discuss with public communications in addition to putting in a print order.
I was kind of thinking too, it might be really helpful to include something in that guide if it's not in there already, like specifically what people are allowed to testify and speak on and what they're not. So that way when they come up here, they know exactly what they can. Because there are a number of things they can talk about. But just when it comes to something like noise or traffic, as you all know, it's like that's a big no-no. But so maybe that's something we could take a look at too with our legal counsel and Jennifer Cowan and her team and see what they think about that. So.
Great.
That would be helpful, though I do think some of that, they have to learn on the fly, it would go over their head. They're going to come to the meeting, you could tell to them in advance, and just like I guided the one lady, that's a great cross-examination question, why don't you leave it for that? Because that's really when it should have come in, and it would have taken us down a rabbit hole. So I didn't feel like I was giving her advice or helping her, I just said, do it at this time, and we'll come back to it. I'm glad she, because I've done that before, and people have said, no, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, then you're not going to get the outcome you're looking for. So I was pleased that she got back up and spoke again. So, okay.
If I can, one more thing, not an announcement, and of course I closed my screen so I can't actually pull it up in the code, but the Community Development Board as a board has the ability to recommend changes or things like that. If at a future meeting you wanted to have something more of a work session on any topics, please let us know in advance. City Council sometimes asks us for updates on or just conversational presentations at the end of the meeting. So if there's things like that you as a board would like to it's your time also. So, we try to just bring our projects and things like that to you like we normally would. But if there are topics that you want to discuss as a board, we can take some time and do that as well. So.
Excellent. Does anybody else have anything? If not, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.